Muito boa tarde.
Good afternoon to you all.
Em primeiro lugar,
Ladies and gentlemen,
dirigir uma palavra de saudação
Mr. Secretary General, first of all, I would like to greet the NATO Secretary General, my former colleague at the European Council, Mark Rutte, now as the NATO SG. And reiterate the importance for Portugal of our alliance, our unity, and the preservation of our fundamental rights that gather together our European countries with the US in order to defend our security, our values, integrity and sovereignty. Mr. Secretary General, as I talk to you personally in this occasion, Portugal is fully committed to be an active part of the valorization of the strategy of our alliance. And I will state three main points. First, translate these words in real commitments that allow all the public opinion in the world in its entirety this image of commitment, full-fledged commitment. In Washington, in our last summit, I had the occasion to tell our alliance about our commitment to get to the 2% of our GDP for defense, which for Portugal is a huge effort, as you might imagine. And this goal demands an acceleration of a trajectory of something that in the past years was not always fulfilled. We were not always able to fulfill that goal. But in Portugal, still, I would like to tell you, Mr. Secretary General, there is a huge commitment from the government, but also the other political forces, the main opposition party, to keep on this track. We cannot avoid nor forget the circumstances in which we live nowadays in the scope of security and defense. And we have here several objectives. We have commitments, so we have to safeguard peace. We have the goal and the objective to deter the temptations less adequate of invasion of space and our values. But it is also a way for us to make our economy more dynamic. And when we walk towards this goal, this objective, we have to see it not only in a quantitative way, but also qualitatively speaking. It is inevitable in the current geopolitical circumstances. I would even say that next decades we cannot have this kind of projects like the Alliance or the EU Alliance without our commitment and without developing all our capacities, capabilities, and produce military material, investing in our capacity to innovate, to research, to innovate our know-how and knowledge, to make new equipments able to ensure that we get to our goals. If we do not do this by ourselves, we have only an alternative to buy, to to those that produce and make those equipments. And if we would do that, there would be two errors, because if we are in the hands of external parties to our alliance and to our EU, we will be more dependent, detrimentally to the goodwill of those partners, and we will not make our economy more dynamic, making more value, more growth, and to expand our industry in defense and all the ecosystem, economic ecosystem linked to the dynamic of being in the front line of our defense industry. This is why we are so engaged and committed to have more investment in production, research, and also to mobilize our resources for tools that are at our door in the NATO, the agency of acquisitions of NATO, among others, for our startups, our companies, our projects of innovation and research to have more capacity. At this juncture, I would like to tell you, Mr. Secretary General, that the government of Portugal is available to anticipate even more our calendar in the trend of investments. This will depend, of course, on what we are able to do internally. And at this stage, we have a task force that has been set up with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Defense and Finance. It could also involve other areas of the government. And this task force is finalizing its work to make more attractive and equate our capacity of production. Still, we are conscious that in Europe we are not alone, and we cannot be alone. This is why we have to make this work and this track with the partners of the alliance, the North Atlantic Alliance and the EU. Most of the EU countries are members of NATO, because the question, the issue is not only about NATO, but also Europe. How can we safeguard our economy, our internal market, of course, our project and our common challenges, because one cannot look at itself only. We have to have a capacity of investment and also how to accelerate those investments, and also work commonly in strategic terms where to go. We cannot duplicate or more investments in our space. We can say to our partners, namely the U.S., that together the 23 member states of EU, member states of NATO are already having a huge investment in terms of in defense. Still, the goals are to go. But if we have this common goal, of course, we have to implement also these perspectives and investments to be more efficient. Lastly, Mr. Secretary General, our conception, this conception, of course, is akin to the circumstances we are living nowadays. It's not an answer to the new administration, American administration that just took office. Of course, we have to strengthen our links with the U.S. and to make our strategy as the NATO strategy, Europe and the U.S. But Europe has to work anyway on its way independently of what's going on in the U.S., because we are talking about more autonomy for Europe, safeguard of the European economy, and also the social state of Europe. This is why we have been so much committed and engaged. Second note before I finish, dear friend Mark Rutte, our commitment also of support for the time needed without no conditions to support Ukraine. We have set more than 227 million, more than the double than what we have defined at the beginning of the year, more than military support, more the financial support, more political and administrative support, and also humanitarian support. We are working on the several fronts on all these dimensions, and we want to materialize this support by giving financing, but also material and also training in very specific areas of the armed forces, Ukrainian armed forces. This is what we have been doing, considering the commitments of NATO, and also answering the responsibilities of the bilateral treaty we signed with Ukraine. A last note to greet and say thank you to the Secretary General of NATO. Is engagement in an area that is very sensitive for us, the south vicinity of NATO, because inside NATO we have been several times spoke people of this follow-up, considering everything that is going on in the south of Europe and the need we have to have in the alliance, also an intervention, more agile policies in this area. There is lots of political and financial support to countries like Mauritania, and this is something we talked about, and we are also committed in the scope of NATO, EU, and other organizations. We are committed also to strengthen our work with countries like Cabo Verde. We will have also a visit in the following days, and also São Tomé and Príncipe, further down, countries that are an expression of the enlargement of the Atlantic Alliance can have in cooperation. Why not integration when we talk about Cabo Verde? Because we are talking about geographical spaces that are the condition of the efficiency of the deterrence and defense policies of the alliance. And now I finish with these goals on the table for meeting of the informal council of ministers. We will have the opportunity to interact not individually but collectively with you, Secretary General of NATO. We will be also at the summit of the Hague for the priorities of your priorities, our confidence in our trust in your capacity of moderation, and to bring together the positions of the different members of the NATO members. We know how committed you are, and as few, you know how Portugal made efforts, and now we are in a social situation, and this government is on a daily basis committed to work in the social areas of education, health, reinforcement of several areas like dwelling, and Secretary General, the government, the Portuguese government will advance in defense without putting at stake its economic and financial balance. It's an attractive, stable and safe country to attract investment for the economy to grow. Otherwise, well, we will not be able to, if we do not safeguard our social state, we will not have human resources to promote this stability and this growth. And considering your former work as a member of the government and member of the European Council, you are also sensitive to that. Once again, thank you very much, and thank you very much, and good luck in the new position.
Prime Minister, dear Luís, thank you for your warm welcome. Obrigado. It's a pleasure to be in Lisbon. Portugal, as you know, is a founding member of NATO and provides essential contributions to our transatlantic security. Today we discussed the security situation in Europe. Russia is trying to destabilize our countries and is challenging the resilience of our societies, with acts ranging from assassination attempts to cyber attacks to sabotage. And Russia continues to wage a brutal war of aggression against Ukraine. NATO supports Ukraine, and it is vital that we continue to do so. Portugal has played a crucial role in this, including with demining, training, through your role in the F-16 coalition, and with a new multi-million euro pledge to the comprehensive assistance package. We must do all we can to support Ukraine, so that when they decide to go to the negotiating table, they can do it from a position of strength. I also thank you for Portugal's significant contribution to innovation in the maritime domain. Your Maritime Operational Experimentation Centre helps allies test and exercise with new technologies, including to improve the resilience of our energy and communications infrastructure. And this is vital. Just yesterday, we saw another incident in the Baltic Sea with disruption to a cable connecting Latvia and Sweden. The good news is, through Mission Baltic Sentry, NATO ships and aircraft are operating alongside our allies over there, enabling a fast, coordinated response. NATO is strong today. To keep NATO strong, we must, however, continue to adapt. And to guarantee our security in the future, we also need to ramp up our efforts now. That also means we need to spend more on our defense. And I welcome the recent increases in Portugal's defense spending. But we also know that the goal of 2%, now set a decade ago, will not be enough to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The threat from Russia may seem distant, but let me assure you, it is not. Russian ships and long-range bombers menace the Portuguese coast. Portugal's vital undersea infrastructure is squarely in Russia's sights. And while we deal with the Russian threat, we must also address the challenges coming from the southern neighbourhood, and also the opportunities coming from the southern neighbourhood. And I would like to thank you, Luís, for Portugal's important role in shaping our southern neighbourhood agenda. All allies need to step up, so that our alliance remains safe not only today, but also in the years to come. Prime Minister Montenegro, dear Luís, thank you again for your personal commitment, our friendship, but particularly to everything you are doing to keep our transatlantic alliance strong. I look forward to our continued cooperation. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much.